Going on, Jerome. So for a couple of years there, the whole running backs are worthless motif took over, right? And even advanced football minds, actually very advanced football minds, were just like, you never pay a running back. It's so stupid. You just run a day three or a UDFA jabroni into the ground. You don't pay them. You don't draft them high. Running backs are all the same. But that narrative got flipped on its head this season, where you got Saquon, highly paid free agent, Derrick Henry, highly paid free agent, doing the damn thing. Also, a pair of highly drafted running backs, Bajon, as well as Jahmyr Gibbs, Sonic, are definitely changing the narrative with running backs. So now the Vikings, even though they don't have a ton of draft picks, they have a first, a third, and two fifths. The whole conversation of do the Vikings take a running back in the first round? I understand why people would be upset, but there's a couple of things here. Number one, there's going to be some elite running backs available at 24 potentially, right? So we talk about Ashton Genty, but he's likely going to be gone, right? But Amari Hampton, the north-south dynamo, just a ball of muscle that can find that end zone, is going to be good to go, man. Also, Caleb Johnson, versatile running back built for outside zone, and then Trevion Henderson, who is just a big play waiting to happen. Also, probably the best pass blocking running back in this class, and that's something that you've seen with Kevin O'Connell. It's very important to be a running back with the Vikings that you can pass protect. I mean, we've had extreme athletes like King Kenny and Wangu, as well as Ty Chandler, not get the time of day because their pass blocking. Maybe not so much. So that is something to watch for. And again, I know it's tough. There's other needs. The Vikings don't have a ton of draft picks. Fully understand that. But also, let's remember the last time the Vikings spent a first-round pick on a running back. It seemed to work out pretty good. Also, what was the last time they spent a second-round pick on a running back? Oh, yeah, that guy. Don't look up the time before they spent a second-round pick on a running back. It's Toby Gerhart. But here's a couple reasons why it's not insane. Number one, you have the cap to address other needs. Of course, free agency comes before the draft, so the Vikings could really hammer things out in both the trenches. They could sign Trey Smith, they could sign Drew Dahlman. The other side of the ball, they could sign Osa Odigizua, Milton Williams. They could suture things up, and also they could address cornerback as well. And even though we said that Saquon, Derrick Henry sort of changed things at free agency, there's not really tier one free agent running backs out there. I mean, Najee Harris is there, but you're going to pay him 10, 11, 12 million bucks per year. Aaron Jones we like back on a cheap deal, so we'll see. But the Vikings could certainly check a lot of needs, boxes in free agency because they have the money to do it before they hit the draft. Number two, deep running back class, but there are tiers. And yeah, there's going to be probably 20 running backs drafted this year. And I know, well, you could wait and get Ollie Gordon. Oh, you could wait and get player XYZ. Oh, you could wait and do all those things. Sure, but there are tiers. Ashton Genty is here. Hampton, Caleb Johnson, Trevion, they're going to be about right there. Also, after the combine, you're not going to think that things are too insane. Just like Amari Hampton at 220 running a 4.3 and a low 4.3. Henderson's going to test great. Caleb Johnson, people say that Caleb Johnson's slow. No, he's just a long strider. Like, he's just graceful in the open field. He's a Robert Smith, Eric Dickerson type runner in the open field. So he's going to test great, and at the end of the day, after the combine in next week, I think that you're suddenly going to see is like, first round running backs, there could be 4 potentially. Also, the Vikings need to fix the run game. The Vikings have been bottom 5 in yards per carry each of the last 3 years. Now, part of that is O-line, part of that is Kevin O'Connell play calling, but a large part of that is running back, right? So you had the last gasp of Dalvin, you had Madison 2 years ago, and then last year you had Aaron Jones, who fought the good fight, but the Vikings running game has not been efficient at all over the last 3 years with Kevin O'Connell. Also, asset in the passing game. Like we said, one of the reasons why I lean Trevion Henderson is because he's a natural pass catcher out of the backfield. Also, he's probably the best pass blocker for running backs in this class. And just another dimension for this offense. Also, McCarthy would benefit from a running game. And now, he's not going to be a handoff merchant game manager, blah, 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 Michigan, blah, 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 blah. But you've seen what McCarthy can do off of play action. He was one of the highest graded quarterbacks off of play action his final year at Michigan. And that's play action is obviously a major part of the Kevin O'Connell offense. So having it be viable where teams are actually scared about efficiency in the run game, it's only going to benefit the Vikings. Lastly, Just another tier one playmaker on this Vikings offense. So you got JJ McCarthy under center, the arm mobility. You got Jefferson, you got Addison, you got Hawkinson, and then all of a sudden you add a Hampton, a Caleb Johnson, or a Trevion Henderson. My God. My God. Every single blade of grass, every single. You know that we've been bitching a moment. It's like, hey, how come the Vikings don't score 40? They'll score 40. Yeah. I think that this offense could legitimately get things done. Plus, it is a bit of a copycat league, and you saw what the Eagles did with Saquon, and you saw what the Lions have done with Sonic and Knuckles, and all of a sudden it's just like, hey, maybe the pendulum is swinging back, and maybe we are getting back to a running a league, a running nation as a whole. Certainly possible, and I do think that there is a ton of talent in this draft, that if the Vikings do address needs in free agency, again, free agency for needs, draft BPA, one of the best players available in this draft class could be a running back when the Vikings are on the clock at 24. Or, potentially could trade down a little bit, stay in the first round or top of the second round, still get one of these guys. You'd be good to go. But your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings drafting a running back in the first round. It's not as insane as you would think. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, comment section. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull, production value.